Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a vote of confidence in Parliament, which paves the way for early elections in February. Now, this is something very rare in German politics. Only the sixth time a vote of confidence is called since the end of the Second World War. And it's not only Germany going through turbulent political times in Europe, also France is facing a political crisis. DW's Thomas Sparrow joins us from Berlin for more. Thomas, Olaf Scholz lost his trust vote. Why did that happen and what comes next?
It may seem strange to you, but actually Chancellor Olaf Scholz actually wanted to lose that confidence vote, not win it. And the reason behind that is that he sees this as the formal way to end his government coalition, which had collapsed in November after the three parties that formed that coalition had not managed to come to an agreement on economic terms, on budgetary terms. And secondly, Scholz sees this as a way in which he could pave the way for those elections that are now going to take place in February. What comes next is, on the one hand, a political campaign marked by this very short period of time and also marked by the winter and by the Christmas period, which is rather untypical for German standards because normally federal elections take place in September. The next steps are for the German president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who is the head of state, to dissolve parliament and officially stress that those elections will indeed take place on February 23rd.
Thomas, what are the main topics of this political campaign?
There's no doubt that the main topic of this political campaign is the economy, the German economy, which is in a rather bad state, and which, in fact, as I stressed, was the main cause for the dissolution of the government coalition. Germans are worried, according to a survey this month. In fact, nearly half of Germans stressed that they're concerned that they won't be able to pay their bills or they will have economic problems in old age. And this is something that clearly is seen by political parties that are now positioning themselves when it comes to options on how to improve Germany's economy. A second element, which is particularly important, is foreign policy, and in this case, how Germany will position itself after January 20th, when Donald Trump comes to the White House. There are concerns about Donald Trump's policies on the one hand towards Ukraine, on the other hand, some of his protectionistic policies, which could certainly affect Germany's exporting rules and exporting policies. This is extremely important for Germany's overall economic output. So these are two topics that are undoubtedly at the top of the political agenda now and being discussed by the main political parties.
And considering that France is also in crisis, what does this mean for the European Union? After all, Germany and France have been considered the motor of the EU.
And just imagine when this motor of the EU does not work properly. This obviously has implications for the EU as a whole. On the one hand, when it comes to implementing policies that are important for the 27-member bloc, but also when it comes to the overall policies towards other regions of the world, when it comes to India, when it comes to Africa, when it comes to Latin America. If Germany and France do not manage to work together, and if Germany and France are both looking inward instead of focusing on those very important foreign policy aspects, this will ultimately affect how the EU performs on a global stage. The question now is whether other countries in the bloc, for example, Poland or other countries in Eastern Europe, will step up as EU leaders, or whether Germany and France, despite these political crises, will manage to really work together when it comes to the overall policies that are so important for the 27 bloc.
Thomas, thank you. Thomas Sparrow reporting there from Berlin.